All right. Well, thanks a lot for coming on the show. I really appreciate you giving me some of your time today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So you'll actually be back in St. John here shortly, correct? You're playing August 2nd here at the Area 506 Container Village.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to it. I think I've been there. My first time through there, I think, was with Dan Mangan last fall, and we played at that beautiful theater. Is it called the
Imperial?
The Imperial. Okay, yeah, yep. The Imperial Theater. And actually, yeah, I love that space. Like the architecture in there is really beautiful, and we did like this like video. So yeah, I beautiful city. Actually, that's where I got this Miigwech tattoo.
Oh, no way! Here in St. John, that's awesome. Do you remember what shop you went to, or which tattoo studio?
It's interesting because I don't even think it was technically a tattoo studio. It was a clothing store, and the guy just happened to be a tattoo artist, and he noticed like Dan Mangan's tour manager. She had like a ton of ink. Okay. And he was just like, "Oh man, hey, yeah, I also do tattoos." It was a whole thing. It was a whole thing, and maybe a little misguided, but I really love it. So I will always have a little piece of St. John memories, just tattooed to my body. So
yeah, that's exciting. And to be honest, like St. John's kind of like up and kind of riding this wave of growth and excitement. So that's I'm happy that you have a part of St. John now physically tattooed on your body. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Maybe we could talk briefly about, so I wanted to actually ask you about your guitar playing. Like I was wondering, like you kind of do that percussive, some of that fretboard work too, which is really interesting. Is that something you stumbled across naturally by yourself, or did you have some influences that kind of guided you down that style?
Yeah, no, actually, my friend showed me a bunch of people on YouTube. So like, I was like watching like Eric Mongrain, Kaki King, Justin King, and like Don Ross. And so there's a lot of people I saw on the internet, and then I just kind of go home and mess around with different tunings. I mean, the tunings are pretty, they span far. But in reality, the reality is like, how many guitars can you really bring on the road? And you don't want to like spend so much time like tuning. So like, I tend to use like an open C sharp. I think a lot of people like who don't really mess around with the tunings are always like, oh, this always sounds so full and nice. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I play an open C sharp. And they're like, oh, should I? And then my recommendation for like anyone who sings and does that is to just find like a key that really sits well with your vocal range. Okay. And then like, you'll just have like the most fun playing in that key. Cause then like singing in that key will be just so much easier than trying to like, I think I was playing in like the classic like Dag Dad tuning, and like for reaching the highs, like I was always kind of like struggling just to hit certain notes. So yeah, just make it easier for yourself and tune to whatever your vocal range is.
Okay. Now, did you purposely hunt down that tuning, or was that kind of like a moment of like, oh, like I figured this just kind of magically happened?
Yeah, well, it was just that. It was just like me singing, and I'm like, I can't sing that high. I'm like straining my vocals. So I just tuned everything down like a half semitone. And yeah, you just like find different patterns and different like rhythmic things. And like, I love to just kind of like hit the harmonics, and it's like, that layered with like different kind of like pedal effects can have such a nice ring to it. Like almost this like kind of like angelic kind of sound, but you can also miss the harmonic and it just sounds like you're hitting a steel string. So you gotta be very touchy with it.
Okay. You gotta be precise in the key moments.
Yeah.
Does that mean the rest of your band, your backing band, has to tune to something similar, or do they just kind of map it out for what they're playing?
We haven't done any of the tapping stuff as a band. Okay. Although my guitar player has been pushing for it for a minute. He's like, oh man, I would love to like program some stuff and like have the whole, because like I think like when I initially had tried it, because it's so delicate and because like everything you do with that tapping style is so like precise, like unless it's like really rehearsed, like a lot of that stuff gets buried and then it just looks like I'm slapping a guitar up on stage and nothing's happening. What is he doing up there? Does he know how to play guitar?
That's funny. Like a performance piece. No, it's performance art.
It's like that guy who's like slapping his body on the meme or whatever.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, yeah. Well, maybe I'll vote with the guitar player. Maybe you should bring some.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So let's jump to the Junos too. Like, so congrats, of course, on the Juno wins here in 2024, and I know you won one as well in 2023.
Oh no, I was just nominated last year.
Oh, you're just nominated last year. Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah.
I thought you read that you won that as well.
Yeah, the only win I got last year was against the NHL players with the Junos Cup team.
Okay, that counts.
It was pretty jokes. And like, maybe they were being kind to us. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever. A win's a win. But yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Alternative record of the year and songwriter of the year, right? Like,
yeah. So those are some big ones. Those are really prestigious awards, and yeah, you know what? Like, it's an honor, and I'm just trying to like honor that privilege of like being recognized in that way by my peers to make sure that I'm like, because those both, like, getting a Juno really is like a massive like stepping stone on like your path to furthering your career, right? So like kind of like using that momentum to kind of keep growing and keep building a sustainable music career, because like, yeah, music industry is tough.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of competition.
Well, it's interesting. I'm not even sure if it's competition, but it's just like it's like the industry is always changing, and it's like, especially touring. Touring is like so crazy expensive in this country, because like everything's so spaced out, and we only have so many airlines that it's like there's not a lot of competition, and like to fly big bands around, it's like, the logistics is like pretty wild, but like, I'm privileged enough to be able to play on some of these amazing shows that kind of makes it a little bit easier. So, I've been blessed with being able to come out to these festivals, which I'm really excited to. Like, that always blows my mind that I thinking about a story about my life, writing on a piece of paper, building music around it, like that is bringing me to these different places, and it's kind of resonating with people. It's something I do my best not to like take for granted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great to hear. Is it so because your songs are so personal, based on how I'm interpreting the lyrics anyway, and then you're seeing this success? Does that add to the pressure, or do you feel like a little bit like exposed or anything? Is that something you have to wrestle with?
Oh man, there's always crushing pressure in this industry. Yeah. It's just the will to keep doing it. But like I think I think if I'm being completely honest, like when I got that Songwriter Award, like it got really in my head, right? Like, so when I would try and write, I'd be like, oh, like Songwriter of the Year wouldn't write that lyric. Okay. And then, so like I was like getting in my own way, but then like, I've been slowly just being like, you know what, like I was recognized for what I was doing. So as long as I keep like honoring myself and like writing things that like I find meaningful, and things that like, because I think that's the first thing is you gotta write something that you really love and that really moves you, because then like how do you expect to move the audience if you're not even into it, right? So it's like and through doing that, I feel like you'll find your people, and like at the end of the day, like you just need to find those audiences that you connect with, and that is how this thing works,
Was there kind of a point where what's the right way to ask, where you realized that you should write more for yourself than for what like the people were expecting before you found this success? Was there like a moment in time where you realized that?
I think it's always interesting, because like I've been doing like a lot of different writing sessions, right? And sometimes you go into like I write by myself, but then I write with other people, and then I just like, I get introduced to these different artists, different songwriters, and I go into these rooms, and the thing is like I don't put this unnecessary pressure on it anymore. Okay. Like it was like writing with other people I used to find so intimidating in a way, because like one, like it's as the artist, like it's always to share that space and to like you always kind of want to have a certain level of like control of certain things, right? But
Okay. Yeah.
but then when you get into rooms with other people, I'd be like, oh, it has to be good because I don't want to waste anybody's time, right?
Mm.
And so suddenly there's this like unnecessary pressure of just like, oh, we have to write a hit, you know what I mean? Like
Okay.
where it's like that's not the case. That's like, you know what, like those writing sessions, like you just find certain people and it's like you go in there and you have fun and maybe it's not going to be the best song you've ever written, but like you just go in there and you do the work. And yeah, sometimes you write a song in like 10 minutes. Sometimes it takes like a year to write a song,
Yeah.
but like the big thing is just like I've been trying to just like make it a daily practice of just writing and yeah, you're going to write like 1,000 songs before one's like, oh, this is freaking awesome. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Do you feel like you got to like get those, not necessarily bad ideas, but like the weaker ideas? Do you think you got to like get them out of your head to let the strong ones show up?
oh, definitely. But and that's the crazy thing too, is like it's so interesting because sometimes like I'll write a song, I'm like, it's not very good. But I'll like, you know what? I'm playing this solo show and it's kind of like I got some time here. I'm just gonna play the song that's just kind of sitting in the vault, you
Okay.
know,
Yeah.
and then play it. And then someone will come up and be like, what was that song? That was amazing. You know, you don't know who's actually gonna everyone has different tastes and stuff.
Okay.
But
So sometimes like the crowd reaction might like save a song or make you realize that maybe the song is stronger than you originally
yeah,
thought it was.
no, for sure. Because I remember even when I went to Europe and I was writing for a bit out there, and like I remember working with like this amazing, these just incredible artists and incredible producer, and like I remember having one session where we were just working and I'm like, this is like. And then they're just like, just try it, just try this thing. And I'm like, all right, all right. And by the end of it, I was like, this kind of feels like a Eurovision song. And it's like, it was really fun to do. Like,
Yeah.
and but I think that's one that might just like kind of sit in the vault, you know?
Okay.
I wrote it and it's interesting because you write songs and sometimes maybe, I don't know, maybe it's not for you and what you're working on in your project, but maybe someone else might be interested in the song down the road.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it's kind of an interesting thing about like, meeting all these different songwriters who maybe like even just put their own like artist projects on hold to suddenly become songwriters because they're like kind of working on the back end a bit more than like the struggles of like being on the road and trying to like you know have this amazing social media game and all this stuff. So like it's interesting being an artist in 2024. You know, it's like just like everything else. I mean, like you're a journalist, so it's like now you got to do like 1,000 jobs versus before where it was just like one thing. Right now you got to be like the editor and the reporter and the the social media guy on it. Like so, it's like it's wild how spanning like that's why this year it's like a lot better. Like I have like festivals on weekends and we're like planning it's some nice tours for next year, but there's like actual space now to be like creating and writing and like I'm trying to treat it like a 9 to 5. So like when I'm back, which is like days on the week, I'm like, well, I'll get up, time to go to the gym and time to clock in and put my songwriting hat on.
Yeah, well, that's a good point because I think a lot of artists might think they need to wait for inspiration to come to them when really I've heard it from now you, but also a number of successful artists that they treat it like a job and you just got to put in the hours and eventually like the product or however you want to think about it will show up.
Oh, exactly. Like I think inspiration is very fickle and I think there are times when it definitely comes, but if you're waiting for it, sometimes you could be waiting for a very long time.
It might never come.
it might never come. You might just have to keep working at it. Yeah. So
that's very cool. Well, let's talk about, you mentioned logistics earlier. I know you're bouncing around. You're going, I don't even know how to say it, down under to Australia for South by Southwest Australia.
Yeah.
That'll be, have you been there before?
No. So this is gonna be my first time for South by Southwest, and I'm excited. And we got some other stuff in the works too. I'm not sure if I can say anything, but yeah, I'm really excited to go there. It was interesting because I was talking to Dallas Green about it too, and like because we were at the Gordon Lightfoot tribute at Massey.
Oh, cool.
I remember yeah, just being in that room. Anyways, yeah, and I was just talking to him. I was like, "You go to Australia all the time. Like, how's that?" And he's just like, "You know what? You just got to go there, and you got to go there like as often as you can." And he's like, even if it's like every 3 years, like people in Australia will really respect that you like made the effort to go out there because it's so expensive and hard to get out there, and because like the whole system around it kind of makes it sometimes difficult for artists to get there. Like they will appreciate you, and if they see you making the effort, like he says, like the fans show up for people who do show up for them.
Okay. That's very cool.
Yeah, the South by Southwest. I think it's the first one, if I'm not mistaken. Right? It's like the first
time they're holding the conference down there.
Yeah.
As far as I know, yeah. Like I was surprised to see it listed. So yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm really excited to see how it is, because like I went to South by Southwest in Austin, Texas, and it's just insane how massive that thing has grown to be, right? Which makes it kind of tough in ways, because it's like it's such a massive festival that there's like thousands of artists coming from around the world, but there's only so much music industry, right? And that's what those music conferences are for, is you're trying to connect with those music industries. So it's like people will talk about like, oh man, I remember South by Southwest like 10 years ago or whatever it was, and they're like, it was like so much easier to like kind of like make this thing work. So I'm kind of excited to see like the start of a South by Southwest in a new place where it will be like a little bit smaller, but it will be like, you'll have better odds of having FaceTime with the connections you're hoping to build and the relationships you're hoping to foster. So yeah, like I can't speak highly enough of music conferences, especially the smaller ones. Like, if anyone ever came up to me and been like, what advice do you have for any other artists? I'm like, first of all, practice your craft, get like songs and a set that you're really proud of and that you're really stoked to share with people. And then find a music conference. Like if you're trying to find a team, like these music conferences, it's like, there's the people who book festivals, there's agents, there's all this music industry, right? And like, you play to bars hoping like one of those people will like walk through the door, right? But then you play the music conferences and you're sometimes playing to like a room full of them, especially in the smaller ones where it's like maybe just a couple venues and then everyone shows up to see at least a piece of every show, so.
Yeah, I gotcha. So it's valuable because the industry folk will be concentrated in that area. Yeah. Very cool. Maybe we can touch briefly too. I was just listening to the collab you did with Ruby Waters, the Lana Del Rey cover, Video Games.
Yeah.
So what I like, Lana Del Rey is of course a great songwriter. I really enjoyed in your version how kind of the chorus picks up a little bit, and maybe you can just tell the story about how that came together.
Yeah, well, Amazon approached us to do a collaboration together, and it was so easy because like me and Ruby had already been on tour together before, and so we had already shared the space, and so we already had like this like friendly connection, and like so yeah, we had a few songs. I'm not even quite sure what the other songs we had in mind. I think Home by Edward Sharpe was also one we were considering.
Okay.
But then like, the Video Games, I think it was just like a nostalgic song for both of us.
Okay.
And so like, I was really excited to do it. Cause even so, like, I remember hearing like a cover of Video Games done by Teeks, who's like this incredible like Maori artist.
Okay. Not familiar.
And I was like, wow, like there's some incredible versions of the song, and like I wouldn't mind playing with it too. And so we went to work with like Derek Hoffman, who I've worked with previously, like that last EP. He produced a number of those songs.
Okay.
And so when like I went up to him and I was like, yeah, we want to do Video Games by Lana Del Rey. He's just immediately, he's like, I'll do it. But he's like, no piano version. No piano version. He's like, I'm sick of hearing piano covers of that song. He's like, if you want me to do that song, we got to do something fresh. And I think it was easy to switch it to be more guitar forward, because like that's like Ruby and that's our main instruments anyways. So it's like, I think kind of having that take on it and kind of making it a little bit more ours. I think that's a special thing about covers. Like, I know it's interesting because, like, I remember I was touring in Italy with Sky Wallace, and we did like a cover, a Tragically Hip cover, and we posted it to Instagram, and like, I was like blown away by like the people in the comment section who were just like, have they even heard the song? This does not sound exactly the way I want it to, like, from the record. And it's like, well, go listen to the record then. Like, this is I think that's a beautiful thing about having people cover songs. Like, I've never had anyone cover my songs, but I would love for someone to cover my song and do it in the way that they do it, and to hear the contrast, because that's exciting for me. And I think, I don't know. So yeah, it was like special to be able to kind of put our spin on it. I mean, hopefully Lana sees it and doesn't hate it.
I think she'd dig it. Sounds great to me. And it's interesting what you mentioned, actually, like the difference between a cover and maybe an interpretation.
Yeah,
that's a good way. That's an interesting way to phrase it. So we're coming up here to the end of the interview. I appreciate you, of course, chatting with me. Maybe I'll end it off on maybe the most important question, not to put you on the spot. Yeah. But when it comes to Thunder Bay, do you have like a go-to place when it comes to Persians? The baked good, I mean.
I think that, no, I know that. I think there's like the Persian man, but I think like I would always go to like Nucci's bakery, because like I went to Hammersholt High School, and so Nucci's bakery was down the street. So I would always go there and buy like a sandwich or like a Persian. Okay. And like, I feel like from Persian Man, they're definitely a bit fresher because they bake them there. I think Nucci's might actually get them from Persian Man, if I'm not mistaken. But like, so they're like, they're like just a little bit not on the fresher side, but like, I think it's just more of a nostalgic thing for me. But yeah, like when I go up there at one point, I'll have them. I know people living in Toronto from Thunder Bay who like their parents will send them
down. Okay. Yeah.
Ship them down. Like, I'm not sure if I'm that hardcore, but I do enjoy them. Yeah,
it's hilarious. I can relate because we have like Donairs out here on the East Coast, and I hear the same stories, people like shipping Donair sauce and stuff out west.
I love that.
I heard the debate between the Persian Man and Nucci, so it's interesting that it sounds like you're on Team Nucci, but we don't need to like pick sides.
You're trying to get me killed. No, I think it's
they're delicious. I just had to bring it up. So
I think,
go ahead. Did you? I was just ready to wrap.
I think Persian Man is just so far on like the west side of the city.
Okay.
So Nucci's is like on the east side. Okay. I don't know. It was on the wrong side of the tracks.
The wrong side of the tracks. Yeah, it's all good. Well, again, thanks a lot for coming on the show, Aysanabee. I really, I'm stoked you're coming back to St. John. Congrats on all your success, and I can't wait to see you by the water here at the.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Going to be playing some songs from the first record. Going to be playing some songs from the second record.
Okay.
Going to be playing some new songs as well.
Oh, perfect. So okay.
You can only hear them at the show.
Perfect. Currently. You heard that, listeners. Only August 2nd. It's your only chance until they're on cut to vinyl or something. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks again, and have fun on the road this summer. And I wish you all the success.
Hey, thank you so much.
Awesome. Peace.